Just let your soul glow.
Welcome to the Soul Shift Sessions podcast, where we dive deep into transformative conversations that empower you to elevate your mindset, break through limitations, and create the life you truly desire.
Hosted by Coach Sapphire Star and Coach McCloud, this podcast is your go-to source for actionable insights, inspiring stories, and expert advice on personal growth, financial freedom, and living with purpose.
Each episode is designed to help you shift your mindset, overcome obstacles, and embrace a life of abundance and fulfillment. Whether you're looking to transform your relationship with money, enhance your well-being, or unlock your full potential, the Soul Shift Sessions will guide you on your journey.
Welcome to another episode of Soul Shift Sessions podcast, where we have deep, transformative conversations to help you transform your mind, to transform your life. I am freedom and financial life coach, Coach Sapphire Star, and I have with me my lovely co-host,
Kyle McCloud.
And we are super excited to be back with you yet again with an amazing, transformative conversation. But before we get into the conversation, we would love for you to go to our website at www.soulshiftsessions.com and join the tribe. You can also follow us on Instagram at Soul Shift Sessions. We looking forward to connecting with you. Today's conversation is a good one. It's titled Small Shifts for a Big Impact, creating consistent habits to transform your life. Coach Kyle, what's good? How you feeling?
I am feeling really good, and the reason why is because I get to be with my favorite co-host today.
Hey.
On this fine I don't know how it is in your area, but I have this fine overcast morning, and it's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful
Yeah,
day.
it's funky here. It's definitely a good day to be great though. On the other, like the thought process, like, oh, this is a great day to be great.
Yeah. Yeah.
You wake up and it's like every morning can be an opportunity to do better, to be better than we were the day before, because today is a present. We're in the present, but it's a present. It's a gift for us. But again, it is wrapped around our mindset.
Yeah.
And what we do with this gift, with this time that we have. And that's kind of where we're going with the conversation today. How do we create change? How do we implement small shifts in our lives to achieve the results that we want? In season 1, we talked about thinking bigger. You think it's small, you got to think big.
You got to think big.
And that social media viral video will forever live rent-free in my head, because when you think about what he's saying, it's very powerful. It's about your beliefs. I do believe that you have to be radical in what you believe. You have to sometimes be delusional to the point where it's like someone else would be like, but really, how do you stretch yourself? How do you get to a place that you may not think is possible in that moment? So those beliefs, like you always say, Abraham Hicks says, a belief is a thought that you keep thinking.
Yeah.
So then with that belief system, that thinking big, that go big, go home, or whatever that means for you, because big is relative.
Yeah.
You have to follow it with action. It's not enough just to believe something is going to happen for you. You have to then follow that belief up with action. And that's what the small steps, small shifts.
Ooh, I got a couple just from hearing you talk. one of these things is I was on a conference call a couple days ago, and the person speaking said something about, kind of like yesterday's done. Today's a fresh new day. And she's like, I cannot drive my car and look back. And I cannot, or no, I'm sorry, she was talking about running. I can't run and look back and expect to be running forward at the same speed that I was running when I was actually focused on forward, when I was focused in front. And there is this there is this thing where we kind of look at how we got here. And to some degree, how we got here can be important when you're trying to figure things out. But there is this aspect of all the events that led to us getting here, that it actually does not matter because here is where you are. So the motivation, the reasons, all that stuff, although may be valid for certain conversations, when you're talking about moving forward and attaining your goals, how you got there is not even important anymore because this is where you are.
Yeah, and I'll play the devil's advocate on that one because I do believe it matters. I do believe the how you get to where you are impacts who you are and how you think, because I believe those small steps, those things that you learn, the losses that you encounter, it's a part of the developing. It plays a role into who you eventually become, no matter how big or how small. It's those lessons that we learn on the way to going to what we want, and we can't just dismiss them. We can't say, oh, that no longer matter anymore, because now this is a part of your character, your fabric of who you are, your makeup, and it influences how you move, how you continue to move forward.
Hence, I said it's important in certain conversations. But as far as what I choose to do today, and let's say that we're talking about revenue generation, because we do have a lot of entrepreneurs. When it comes to revenue generation, here I am, right here. So if the reason why let's say that I got into this for the wrong reasons, but now, like after I have gone through whatever I've gone through, and here I am, then if this is where I'm committed to stay in regards to this particular part of the path, then this is why I'm saying that what I did yesterday, not what I did yesterday, but the reasons and all the things that will factor into me getting here, me looking back at it's not going to make a difference now. Because
you mean like in terms of regret,
well, that's definitely one of those things. But what I am saying is that when it comes to any negative emotion that is connected to what we did back then, here we are, we're here right now. And if I'm committed to making it on this particular path that I'm on, then whatever happened there that got me there, that whatever I am feeling that got me there or got me here now from that back then, I got to move forward.
Absolutely.
I got to move forward. And that's the reason why where I am now is where I am. So what are we going to do to move forward today as opposed to thinking about what happened yesterday?
Yeah.
And I used to hear people, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say that when I used to go to like different conferences, they would always talk about, what are we going to do today? Because yesterday is done. So what are we going to do today to move forward? That was all I was going to say.
Yeah. And I do think that requires a reframe in terms of how we think about our experiences that we're going through, because everything is really perspective and how we choose to think about experiences, whether negative or positive, how we view them in terms of how it's going to shape who we are. Because I do think it's very, very important to be successful in business and in life. It does require positive thinking. That is just, and that
It
sounds
does.
very simple, but it does require positive thinking. I call myself a perpetual optimist because no matter what happens to me, even the negative things, I find a way to reframe that to work in my favor. Because again, my beliefs are they have to be radical, and everything has to be working in my favor, even the things that are undesirable. I believe that is working in my favor because maybe that's the Lord, maybe that's the universe telling me you're not going in the right direction, and you need to shift, you need to pivot. So sometimes we need those dark moments, who knows, those dark times in
Yeah.
our lives to evaluate where we are and then say, okay, do I want to continue here, or do I want to shift? Do I want to pivot?
Yeah.
So it becomes some type of indicator for us. Like if we couldn't feel that the fire was hot, we wouldn't move our hand. We wouldn't do something about
Right.
it. And so those things are in I believe believe that those things, negative or positive, those things are in our lives to shape us into who we are become. But it's important on our perspective on it, because I can choose to say, well, I could think about that negatively. I could come up with many reasons and many ways to perceive something, but that's
Yep.
a choice. And so the power in that is we have a choice to choose to think negatively or to think positively about something. And even with negativity, because I always say, it's not a win lose, it's a win learn. So even when I don't get what I want, it's this quote that says, experience is what you get when you don't get what you want. And that can shape who you are. But I know some people struggle with regret about decisions that they've made that seems like, man, I shouldn't have done that. And I do believe that's human nature and that's
Yeah.
natural.
Yeah.
But I also believe we shouldn't meditate and sit on it either. I think we should really say, oh, this is an opportunity to evaluate why I choose to do the things I do. Do I need to get some help about this? Do I need to seek a mentor? Do I need coaching? What is happening that I'm not getting the results that I desire? And then that becomes like, okay, but that's an indicator. And now another choice had to be made. Do I want to continue down this pathway, or do I want to
Yeah.
pivot?
I have a question for you. You are a clinical laboratory scientist. And in all that you've learned from doing the science side of your life, has any of that played into your life as a freedom financial coach, or just going after the things that you want from a testing versus results and theories and so on and so forth? Has any of that ever played in your life, and if so, how?
Absolutely. I believe how I think lends toward me becoming a scientist. I don't think being a scientist lends to how I think. I think it's the other way around. So
Okay.
it makes me ideal to be someone who is a problem solver, someone who looks at something and say, how can I create a solution around it? But I'm a very analytical thinker where I'm like, step one, do the small step, do the second small step, do the third small step to get the results that I want. And my experience as a clinical laboratory scientist and how it's evolved and shaped me into a entrepreneur, a financial life coach, a real estate investor is I've learned and really mastered the art of systems. As a scientist, we have standard operation procedures. No
Right.
matter what action you take, no matter what task needs to be done in the laboratory, there are systems in place to make sure that we get the same result consistently every single time. So no matter who is applying the action, the outcome is the same. And so I've used that fundamental knowledge in my business in creating time management and business management and automating my business, because what's important to me, because what's important to you is different from what's important to me. What's important to me, and I discovered that with my goal setting. So what's important to me, first, SMART goal. I love to have my time and freedom to travel, to spend time with my grandbaby. I love location independence. If I want to record this podcast here in Savannah, Georgia, or if I want to record the podcast in Ciudad de Mexico in Mexico City, I can. So that is important to me. That's foundational. And then I say reverse engineering it. How do I make that happen? And that's creating automation in my system where it can work for itself. And the E-Myth, the book, talks about the importance of working on your business and not in your business. Getting to a point where you're not caught up in the mundane day-to-day task of being an entrepreneur. You ultimately get to the point where you're working on it, where the system is working itself, and you're focused on strategies and those non-essential type of things that need to be done. They can be delegated, or there's a system in place. But I don't necessarily have to be the one that's doing it. And I think that's the struggle with a lot of entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, gig workers, is that we're doing the work. But if you don't do the work, you don't get paid. So how do you shift from that? And so it's important that we have procedures in place. We have systems in place. We have automation in place. We learn how to delegate. We learn how to build teams, because ultimately, to get what I want, I need my time freedom. I need financial freedom. And how do I do that? I create passive income. My money working for me. I'm not working for my money. My money is working for me, and I can be off doing whatever I want. But let me tell you where my journey began over 20 years ago in terms of helping me with my mindset, because this has been a journey of my success is my mindset. And over 20 years ago, I read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And he talked, and you hear that think, belief, grow, action, think and grow. It's not just enough to believe that you could do something. You have to align your actions to that belief. But typically what we believe, our actions align with what we believe. And in Think and Grow Rich, the book was so good because it talked about what I was thinking about and what do I want, right? And I had to figure that out, because at first I was like, well, I don't know what I want. And so I had to really do a deep dive and say, well, what do I want? And then once I realized what I wanted, it was like, okay, what are the actions I'm going to take to get to what I want? And that ultimately is going to give me the results. And you think about that belief cycle: belief, actions, results, belief. And that is really the path, but it's work. It's small incremental changes that you implement in your life. I read just recently Atomic Habits. And one thing I love about the book is about implementing small shifts in your life. And one thing he said is small habits don't just add up, they compound. It becomes exponential. It becomes second nature. It becomes your ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, or tying your shoes. You could do that without thinking, but there was a time in your life you didn't know how to do that. It didn't come naturally to you. But over time, with learning, with implementing, with actions, with belief, you ultimately get to a point where this stuff becomes second nature to you.
That was a mouthful. That was a mouthful, and it was gold. Like, hold on, let me.
As I was talking, I was like, "That's a long answer, girl." But I was on a roll. I was like, "Yeah," I was feeling it.
You notice I wasn't going to stop you. Like, get it out, girl. Get it out. Get it out. Get it all out. Say the thing. Say the thing.
I think it's important because people, they see the fruit. We talked about this on another podcast.
Yeah.
They don't see that seed that goes in that ground in the darkness and alone, and
They
you
don't see what
having to
happens to the
water
plant.
it. You
Yeah.
have to cultivate it.
Yes.
You can't just water it once and be like, all right, I'm done. I'm going to wait for the tree to grow.
Standard operating procedures.
Like, you have to
Automated.
water that plant daily. Those are your
Right.
small habits towards the seed that you're planting in your life, whether personally or professionally. What is that seed? You plant that seed, it goes into the ground, you water it, you cultivate it, you pull the weeds up. Those negative things start happening. That's natural. It's going to happen. What do? You pull them out. You take that hoe and you rake it out, So, but then ultimately,
I love the fact that you had a gesture with the hoe because
take that hoe out.
Take that hoe out.
Take that hoe out and take the weeds out of your life.
Take that hoe out.
Take that hoe out and take the weeds out your life. You're welcome. You're welcome.
That was not for them. That was for you and I. That was for us. That was for us.
And yes. And ultimately, when your vision, when your want, whatever it is that you're hoping to get, when it ultimately blooms, it will. It's not gonna happen overnight, but when it blooms and the flower is beautiful and the fruit is there, you pull that fruit and you enjoy the fruits of your labor. But guess what? That's a season.
Because that plant is not going to look like that forever. It will.
And if you
change.
want to continue to enjoy that fruit, guess what? You enjoy it. There's a seed in that. There's a seed in that fruit.
Yeah.
You have to plant it again. And you have to do this over again. Bigger, better, smarter, wiser. So it's not like we arrive and it's like, oh, I'm done. No.
Yeah.
This is a journey.
What's interesting about what you're saying is I don't do planting like in real life. However, my wife a couple years ago had brought home this peace lily. And I don't know if peace lilies are supposed to be indoor or outdoor plants. I actually don't know. But it was dying inside the house because it really did not have access to the sunlight that it needed. It just didn't have access. And so I put it outside. And I took it upon myself to see if I could like bring this plant not only back to life but have it flourish. And so I found a spot in the front yard where it wouldn't get too much sunlight, but it would get some sunlight, but it's also going to have access to the elements now and so on and so forth. And I was putting all kinds of stuff in the soil, orange peels, shrimp shells, just all kinds of stuff. And it's almost as if no matter what I put in, coffee grinds, on the soil, all kinds of stuff. And it seemed like no matter what I did, it just kept flourishing, right? Everything it was absorbing. But the winter is coming, right? Winter's coming. And we had a winter where, this plant was like really just beautiful at this particular point in the story. But of course, winter comes, we had some sub-freezing temperatures. And of course, it looked completely dead. When I say completely dead, I mean down to the soil. Like there was like nothing left. And a few days later, once it started getting warmer, these little shoots started coming up. I was like, well, would you look at there? Right? Would you look at there? And I promise you, I actually took photographs of the progress of this plant. And wouldn't you know that by the time peak season hit around, it looked better than it did prior to the freeze. Bigger, stronger, healthier, just amazing. And so, but even now, like this last season, I took the time to actually put it in the dirt. It's been in a pot forever, and the pot just kept getting bigger. I'm like, I'm not going to keep doing this with you. Okay, you're going in the ground. So that way you have like complete access to whatever it is you need, nutrient wise. And so it's still, we just finished winter. So it doesn't look as bad as it did when it was like completely decimated. But to me, it's just amazing that this plant represents resilience, and it represents the starting over and coming back bigger, better, stronger than it was before, and it's constantly doing that. So it's in my front yard, and it is constantly serving as that reminder that if I could come down to nothing, there's still stuff happening in the dirt. There's still stuff happening in the dark that nobody else gets a chance to see. Unless you have a camera.
And you know what I heard when you shared that story?
What's that?
I heard that sometimes you have a vision. Sometimes you have that seed, but you're not in the right environment. The conditions around you. It's not that you don't have a good idea, because you still may be dying. It may be withering. Like, what's happening? I feel like this is a great idea. But the environment and conditions that you are in are not conducive for your growth and for your thriving. And
how many times have we said that?
How
many times have we said that? About changing your environment.
Change the condition. And that can translate easily into the people you're around. Are you surrounded around like-minded people? Maybe it's where you live. I don't know. There may be conditions and environments that you're in that's not conducive for the fruit that you are trying to plant. Like strawberries grow amazing in California because of the conditions and environment it is in. You could take that same strawberry and put it somewhere else, and it will not thrive. It will not grow. I have a question for you.
Uh-oh. I'm ready.
Professionally.
Okay.
What is it that you want currently for your business?
That's an excellent question. I'm not sure if I fully have the answer, because the way I operate is, or the way that I have lived my life, it's more about the freedom and the experiences, as opposed to wanting to say like, oh, I want to make, $1 million this year. Like I want to experience being able to take a trip without worrying about or being concerned about, do I have enough for this trip? Or am I going to be able to come back and I'm going to have to hustle really hard to kind of make up for whatever I spent during this trip? And so there's a freedom that I want in business where I'm not tied to it day in and day out. Want to be able to be free to go, kind of like you, right? Like go whenever I want to go, right? Now, I got kids that are still in school, so there are certain constraints that are around my life that you don't necessarily have those same constraints. Like Sapphire Star only got to care about Sapphire Star when it comes to But
in this season, I've been there, done that, got the T-shirt. Like I have a 32-year-old and I have a 14-year-old grandchild, so it's It's
Right.
still there, just
Meanwhile,
different.
I got a 17 and a 15-year-old in the
Yeah,
house, so
yeah.
it's
It's
a little
still there.
different.
It's just a little, yeah,
But the
yeah.
thing is, though, I do feel like there is this light at the end of the tunnel because they're getting older, and there's going to be a time where I'm not going to have to be worried about waking them up in the morning and making sure they're where they need to be and going where they need to go and picking them up. Like I won't have to be so concerned about their well-being because they're getting older now. But there is a level of freedom that I want to experience. And I know that doesn't specifically answer your question in regards to like what I want in the business, but ultimately it is freedom from the business. And I think that that's what you were talking about with your book about working on the business but not working in the business.
Hmm.
And so that the next level of freedom is working on it and not working in it to the degree in which I am.
And so, what shifts, what small shifts, or what habits are you creating to help you get to that more freedom and working on your business and not in your
Systems.
business?
Systems for sure, right? Like I and the other thing is there's a shift that I had to make where it's I being the high flying Libra that I am, right? All over the place. There is a level of detail that I'm implementing more just in my life overall and putting things in place to help me with those details. You know, for the longest, just maintaining a calendar was challenging for me. And now it's kind of automated. I got a 1 hour time, a 1 hour, a 30 minute, and a 15 minute thing for the same event so that way I'm not off flying in outer space and then have to come back to Earth to do this meeting. So systems is one. And then the other is letting go. And what I mean by that is trusting the team members to be able to do what they're going to do and actually asking for help with things or delegating. And so I come from a place where it's just like, I'm going to just do it myself, do it myself, do it myself, you know, because if I don't have the, right? And trusting others, and it's not even so much about trusting with others, it's actually me having the ability to open my mouth and ask for support in whatever it is and being okay with that. So in my head there has to be the shift called I'm not a bad human being because I need some help with something.
Hmm.
Because I've kind of like lived this life where it's like I'll just do it myself. I got it. I can shoulder it. And then you find out that next thing you know you're overcommitting, you are saying that all these things that you can do and you're not getting anything done because you're spread all over the place. So not spreading myself all over the place, asking for support and being okay with the asking for support. Those are some of the shifts that I've had to make just in order to experience just a little bit more freedom, just at the very least some freedom up here, uh, you know, and down here. And the last thing is actually confidently saying no.
No is a complete sentence.
No is a complete sentence. And how many times, you don't know this, but you probably can guess how many times I've said no and then had to feel like I had to say like this other stuff to make it okay to say no.
Mm.
So
I
saying
believe we're
no
all.
is, yeah, it's a huge thing for me to be able to say no, or I'm not able to do that and not be Superman. Right? Like it turns out I am not Superman or anybody that has like those superpowers and they can just do everything. And also being okay with the fact that I might be working with someone who has the capacity to handle way more than I do because that's just who they are and what they're capable of. And not making that be about some type of inadequacy or scarcity on my part.
Well said, sir. Last weekend, I hopped on an Amtrak train and went to North Charleston, South Carolina. Number one, to satisfy my wanderlust. Those that wander are not always lost. But number one, to satisfy my wanderlust. But number two, to attend a real estate networking event. And the speaker was Tim Bratz. I believe he owns 3,000 to 4,000 doors. Very successful commercial real estate investor. And one thing he shared in that meeting that just really stood out to me, it was very profound. It may have sounded simple, but to me, I was like, oh. And one thing he recommended is something called time cataloging. And I've never heard of that before. Like, I'm big on time management. Like, I have a calendar, I have what I'm doing every week, I have that down. But time cataloging is essentially doing a time audit where for a week, you really look at where you spend your time. And he said to create a list. And in your time cataloging, you list what you spend your time doing. Are these revenue generating activities? The revenue, and you put the dollar sign. Like, you list the things you're doing. Revenue generated activities, you add a dollar sign. Do you like or you don't like it? Happy face, sad face. And then you go through and you say, okay, and how you evaluate that list is obviously you want to, the things that aren't necessarily conducive to our goals and what we want to minimize those, but also delegating as well and focusing on those revenue generating activities, delegating the non-revenue activities, but they're very important to your business, and focusing on the things that bring the money, but also things that you like to do as well. And I was like, I'm going to implement that.
Yes. Let me
as
ask
a
you.
small shift in a small habit for me. And I just recently, I got back on Sunday, and immediately one thing I realized that I do very subconsciously is check emails. I have OCD with emails. Like, if I have emails, I feel like I have to go through, and if it's whatever, I have to clear it out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Sapphire, is that, like, obviously checking your email is important.
Absolutely.
But I was like, I need to create a system where it's like, you know what? I check my emails once a day at this time. Or I check my emails once in the morning, once at night, and that's it. But I find myself compulsively through the day checking emails. And immediately once I came from that conference, I was like, no.
Yeah.
We need to figure out a way to navigate that.
And even like just hearing what you're saying, now obviously everyone can't do that particular thing where like I can just check in the morning, check in the night because of what happens throughout the day depending on the type of business that they're in. But just what you're saying, it's like, all right, if I'm compulsively checking my email, what are some things that I can implement so that I don't do that? And the first thing that came to my mind is, if you have, I don't know if you have multiple email accounts on your phone, but there's probably one email account. It's like, if an email comes to this account, it's most likely something that's going to be important,
Yes.
So maybe that you have an audible alert for just that account. So that way, if you're checking in the morning, checking at night, the only reason why you're checking in the middle is because you got an alert for something that actually could be important. Or revenue generating important, so, like, hey, we need a speaker. And, like, you don't want to wait till tomorrow to answer that particular email. So having that alert might make a difference, but that is profound in regards to, I do have a question with the, I get the dollar sign for the revenue generating activity. Are you also putting a happy face or a sad face on that same activity? Like, yeah, this is a revenue generating thing that I did, but I hate it. Or it's a revenue generating thing, but I love it.
Yes,
Okay.
that gets a happy face or a sad face as well.
Wow.
Because we do, ultimately, I believe, I'm not money motivated, but obviously as an entrepreneur, I want to focus on things that bring revenue. But I also want to do the things that I love. Like, most of us go into business to do what we love to impact change and create financial freedom. And so that's how that all falls into those categories. And so I ideally would love to be doing things that make me money, but also things that I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
And again, seeing what those things that I'm doing, because every now and then you have to evaluate. You have to be like,
Yeah.
like, do I need to be doing this? Can someone else be doing this? That type
Right.
of thing. But ultimately, we want to be doing things that we love and getting paid for it.
And if you can find a way to
Yeah.
do what you're loving and what you're loving actually causes you revenue, like that's like the ultimate, right? Because it's like I don't feel like I'm working. You know, some people say like, oh, you should do this because you cycle. And I'm like, I don't know if I really want to tie my passion for cycling with the day-to-day activity of trying to like have a business in that area, because then it takes the love out of it for me. You know, I like to cook, I like to eat, but that doesn't mean I want to open up a restaurant. My wife is always saying, she's like, you should take this on the road, you should do it. Like, I'm like, I don't want to be responsible for providing food that people, and hoping that they like it as much as I do, and then it become a task and a chore. So there are certain things that I love doing that I do not want connected to revenue to that degree. You know, like if I don't do this, then I'm not going to be able to enjoy myself. Now, there is still an opportunity here, because I see you doing this all the time, where like you go to different events and you meet people and you learn things, but you also put yourself in position to grow from certain experiences. And I'm talking about, like, you know, when you go to your chamber events, or when you join the board for that organization, like I can hear in your voice how excited you are for these particular things. And if you get paid from doing those things, then it's even that much better. So the question is, how do you, and this is not a necessary question for you, Coach Star, but the question is, how do I merge what I like with revenue and have it be different than what's normally prescribed everywhere else? So case in point, like how do I combine networking with cycling? Right? And there was I can't remember the name of the book, but the author was, in his book, he was taking things that were irrelated and making connection to those things. And that's not necessarily something that we are necessarily taught to do in the business world, where we're taking things that are unrelated and then making them related so that we can actually have fun and make money.
Absolutely. And the time cataloging, obviously that's when we're talking about our business, right? Because then we have our business, but we also have things that we do, our personal life, right?
Yes.
And that's something different, right? Because I'm like you too when it comes to, I love to travel, but I would never be a travel flight attendant, right? People always say, oh, you should be a flight attendant. No. I don't want to tie my passion for travel to work, because then it would take the joy out of it. Like,
or
travel is my personal joy, passion, everything. Now, obviously, how can I bring that to my business is, a networking event in Napa Valley, California, wine country? Yes. Sign me up. There's a networking event in Houston, Texas. I've never been to Houston. I'm going to go to that. Like, so that's how I combined my passion for what I do. But also, too, when you say about bringing the unrelated to each other, is I am always looking for opportunities. Like, say, for instance, you're like, okay, I want to cycle, but I also want an opportunity to network, with it. I'll first look for that opportunity.
Yeah.
If it's not there, I will create it. Period. Point blank, period. If this is something I desire and I want to bring the two together, I will create that networking event where cyclists, either they networking, they do a little mixer at a coffee shop before they hop on their bikes. And then we hop on our bikes, and then on the other side, or when we're done, most of the time when you're done working out, you don't want to talk to nobody. But I would create an opportunity and an event. And if nobody showed up, I'm good because I'm a cycle. I love it.
I'm gonna cycle anyway, right? I'm gonna ride out anyway.
I'm gonna ride out anyway. So
Yeah.
maybe finding a coffee shop near where your trailhead is before you get started. Set up maybe 30 minutes to an hour before everybody hop on their bikes, and create that opportunity. So that's typically what I do. Is I don't wait for doors.
I love that idea. I typically will just go to an already existing group ride. But I had been toying with the idea of what kind of event that I would have for entrepreneurs who cycle here in Jacksonville. And I love the idea of, because I was thinking of like going to a place, but I wasn't thinking of a coffee shop. But I love the coffee shop idea because who doesn't like a little bit of coffee before
it's a pre-workout. You need it for the trip.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and then I'm like, oh wow. And while you were talking, when I previously had the idea, I didn't have the relationships that I have now. And like, I actually have a relationship with a coffee shop already, right? So it's like a great idea.
Create it because this is what you love, but why not be able to grow my business too at the same time? So here we go.
Here we go.
Yeah. My second book release party, I decided, because I was looking for venues to host my book release of The Rising of the Phoenix, From Trauma to Triumph. And I'm looking for space. I'm like, wait a minute. I am an Airbnb host. Girl.
I got a house. I got a whole house. I got a whole house.
I was like, oh, the two can come together. Because I'm like, author, real estate investor, but let's bring the twain together.
Yeah.
So I can have this event, but I can also market to people, hey, retreat space or event space or whatever you want to use this for. You can see the inner workings of what I do for my real estate side. So that was me bringing the two together. I'm going to turn the dining room into like a cocktail lounge. I'm going to move the dining room table, put the books on that, buy little high round cocktail tables, and turn the dining room into a cocktail lounge. And we have cocktails and light bites. Your invitation.
When are you doing this? I'm like, when are we doing this?
yes. Only reason I hadn't said it yet is because I've had all these other things going on, and I didn't want to get too far ahead of myself. But it's June. I do have the date. It's June 1st, my birthday.
Okay. I feel a lot of shenanigans happening on the way.
So just come up and you can just stay at the house. You could be like, I'm a special guest.
I'm a special guest. My room is upstairs.
Your room is upstairs. Bring the wife, and y'all can stay at the property. Y'all just walk downstairs when the event comes. I don't know, but
we are doing that. We are absolutely doing that. So that's going to be so much. And the thing is, it's like, you're a minimalist, right? So I don't even have to worry about bringing you something that's going to be permanent. Like, whatever it has to be, I can bring you a bottle and it's like, it'll be gone. So I ain't got to worry about adding to your stuff, right?
Exactly.
Especially since you just fussed at me, before the show about products.
Listen, I love Kyle. I love Kyle, and he keeps me on my toes when it comes to products and techie things that I need to grow my business. I appreciate that, but some stuff I be like, listen, I can't buy everything. I can't buy everything.
Did you not know what part of minimalist did you forget when you made this suggestion? Oh, by the way, it was not my suggestion to get that board. By the way, that was not my suggestion to get that. That wasn't
you. That wasn't you. That wasn't.
I gave the clean sheets.
Yes, and I will be getting those. And the clicker and the HDMI cord.
That was me. Yeah,
that was you. And the backdrop that I'm getting eventually, that's you.
That's also me. Yeah.
That's you.
All right, so I'm going to do better. Better.
Continue to send my way, and I'll just create a working list.
Yes. I am looking forward to figuring out what are the best gifts for a minimalist.
Things we can consume.
Yeah. Bottles always work, don't they?
Consumable things.
Yeah.
Yes.
I might make a special blend.
Like, we haven't eaten, like this. I feel like we can talk on and on
All
and
day.
on about
All day.
small shifts.
Yeah.
Soul shifters, please put in the comment section, first of all, what is it that you want? And what are small shifts that you can do today
Yeah.
to make that happen? Think small to start, but you can also grow boldly in that process of small shifts. Because remember, small habits don't add up, they compound over time. Sharing
Right.
is caring. If you know anyone who can use a soul shift, please share our podcast with them. And again, you can follow us on social media, at Instagram at Soul Shift Sessions. Join the tribe at www.soulshift.sessions.com. Coach Kyle, any final words for our soul shifters?
I was told to read a letter to the entrepreneurs, so I guess I want to do that. Shall I?
You
All right.
shall.
All right. So this is a letter to the entrepreneurs. Dear entrepreneur, you won't see it happening. Not at first, not today, not tomorrow. But one day, you'll look up and realize you became everything you once doubted. It's frustrating, isn't it? To work and not feel the shift. To pour yourself into something, your time, your energy, your heart, and still feel like you're standing in place. You compare, you scroll, you watch others seem to move at lightning speed, while you are still here, hands in the dirt, trying to figure out why it's taking so damn long. But growth doesn't tap on you. It doesn't tap on your shoulder. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't knock on your door and say, hey, you've made it. It happens in the unseen, in the small, unglamorous moments, in that extra email you sent, the tough decision you made, the lesson you learned after something went wrong. It's the way you handle a crisis now compared to how you would have handled it 6 months ago. It's the way you show up even when you don't feel like it. And one day, when you least expect it, you look back and you see it. Every small step was adding up. Every long night was leading somewhere. Every doubt was being answered in ways you couldn't see. So keep going. Not because you feel it, not because you feel it yet, but because one day you will. And for those of you who are wondering where that came from, there is an account on Instagram that I got that from by, I'm not even going to be able to pronounce his name correctly, but I'm going to spell it out. It is at TIMAROO. TIMAROO. And that's it.
Well said, well said. And with that, always remember to let your soul glow. Bye, guys.